I like to rank every Planet of the Apes film from worst to best, and I'm gonna give all my thoughts on each one. So let's get on with it, shall we? Number 10, Planet of the Apes remake. This movie is so god awful that it makes your head wonder how on earth Tim Burton came attached to this film. I don't know if it's studio interference or if just Tim Burton had a terrible vision or idea from the start, but my god, the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes remake is just awful. I think that there are no redeeming qualities, and I always try to find redeeming qualities in movies, but in Planet of the Apes, the remake by Tim Burton, I have none. So this movie gets an F from me. At number 9, we have Battle of the Planet of the Apes. The last two entries of the original Planet of the Apes saga are unfortunately not all that great. And this movie takes at least 5 minutes to recap the previous film, and like it's nothing that we really need. I just think that Battles is a movie that is unfortunately bogged down by its budget. You can tell that they wanted to make this movie more ambitious than the others, but they didn't really have the budget to do so. At this point in the franchise, the filmmakers and the writers, they probably didn't have any ideas left, and Battle is really a demonstration of that. And I think that it's a very poor ending to the Planet of the Apes franchise, unfortunately, which is really too bad. Number 8, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. I think that Conquest has some interesting ideas, you can say, some cool concepts, but doesn't really know how to execute them. And the action scenes are just not as memorable or as provocative as they could be. I think that this movie is better than the last film for sure. It's got some entertaining action sequences and some okay characters as well, but it's not very memorable compared to the first three Planet of the Apes films. And I think that it doesn't get better with age. So I unfortunately Conquest for the Planet of the Apes gets a C plus rating. Number 7 is Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Not one of the best sequels, but it got some entertaining aspects, and I think that it's okay overall. I just don't like some elements, some story ideas that's used in it. I don't really care for the mutants near the end, or like how they blew up Earth in this movie, because now everything after that has to be a prequel, and I think that the writers really handcuffed themselves. They couldn't put the timeline past this second installment. So I think that Beneath the Planet of the Apes is unfortunately an okay sequel, not the greatest, not the worst, and it also has a star that didn't want to come back to this series. So I think that really hurt it as well. I'd give this movie a C plus. Number 6 is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, movie in the franchise that just got released this weekend. I think that Kingdom was an entertaining watch. Nothing grand, nothing spectacular by any sense of the imagination, but I liked it overall. I just thought that it was basically a filler episode, unfortunately, and I don't think that filler is a bad thing necessarily. I think that filler episodes can be just fine in any TV show if they're done well, if they're entertaining. And I thought that this movie was done really well. I thought that this movie was solid. Not the best, just pretty good. And I would probably see a sequel if they did other films. I think it's going to depend on the box office returns. Number 5 is Escape from the Planet of the Apes. To me, Escape is probably the best sequel of the original films by far. I think that Escape has like this light tone, and I love the performances of the actors that play Cornelius and Zira in the film. I think they're both very good here, and I just think that this movie is a fun and entertaining watch until we get to the finale. The finale is probably like one of the biggest fuck you I've ever seen from the writers involved, because during the entire film it's just sort of lighthearted comedy and you get attached to these main characters, but then this movie ends so tragically that it completely shifts tone near the last act. I've never really seen a movie quite like this where the tone completely shifts from the first two acts to the last act. I think this is a prime example of that, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that it works in the movie's favors, but I could see people getting frustrated watching this film just because of how it ends. We don't get a happy ending here. I think I rate this movie a B+. Number 4, War of the Planet of the Apes. While I do like War quite a bit, I do think that I was underwhelmed, mainly because of the marketing of the film. I think that the marketing was pretty poor, unfortunately, because it really marketed us a different film than what we got. We expected going into this movie a war, which we did not get. There's a lot of action here, and I think that the story is pretty decent. I think that Andy Serkis, once again as Caesar, is fantastic, and I really enjoyed Woody Harrelson in the role as well. It's just that I expected more action. I expected more out of a movie entitled War of the Planet of the Apes, if that's fair to say. I'd rate this movie a B+. Number 3, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Rupert Wyatt does such a fantastic job directing this movie here, and I think it's one of the most surprising movies I've ever seen in my life. I did not expect this movie to be as good as it was when I went into the theater, and I was just blown away by the characters, the special effects, the storytelling here. I thought that this movie was the perfect kind of reboot that we needed, especially after the god-awful remake from Tim Burton. I just thought that this movie delivered on its promise, and it was an absolutely terrific action summer blockbuster. I really did. And James Franco, Freida Pinto, and Andy Serkis were all wonderful here. And who can forget the fantastic scene where Caesar yells, "No!" A- from me. I absolutely love Rise of the Planet of the Apes. But number 2, best Planet of the Apes films is the original classic, Planet of the Apes 1968. I think that this movie is just an absolutely amazing film. I think that the performances are all stellar. While some elements of this film do feel dated, I don't think that the themes or the story or the ideas are. I think that they're very much in line in today's modern day, and I think that this movie is just brilliantly directed and the story is exceptionally told. I really do, and I think that all the characters have become really iconic here in the pop culture zeitgeist. So I absolutely love the original Planet of the Apes. I would give this movie an A-, and I just think that the ending twist is absolutely amazing. My number 1, I know people might disagree with me and think that the first original is the best, but I think that this movie is my favorite. It's just my personal favorite Planet of the Apes film, and that is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I think that Dawn just really elevated the franchise for me. I think it was amazing. It had great characters, terrific special effects, and just so much emotion. I felt so much emotion watching this film. I was completely drawn to it, and I've seen this movie several times now, and I just love everything about it. I think that this film is so well done. It's like this perfect second chapter to this trilogy. It's even better than Rise, which is just an impressive feat on all its own, and I think it's the Empire Strikes Back or the Dark Knight of the Planet of the Apes series. I really do. I think that this film is absolutely wonderful, and that Gary Oldman, Jason Clarke, and Kerry Russell were all terrific, and of course Andy Serkis once again as Caesar was just absolutely brilliant. I'd give this movie an A. I think it's absolutely amazing, and it's my favorite Planet of the Apes film. So let me know what you think about the Planet of the Apes franchise and how you rank the movies personally for you down in the comments below. Please subscribe. See you next time. Bye.